Hello, this is Bob Gray Sr. Welcome to Ministry Moments every Friday, Lord willing, 4 o'clock Eastern Time and 3 o'clock Central Time. And I hope you'll join us every week. Today, I want to talk to you about debt retirement. We'll talk about money today, debt retirement. And if you have a church that you ought to have a budget. If you don't have a budget, well, what comes in goes out. That may be fine for you and those who trust you and follow you, but there's a fellow that's going to be following you as pastor, and you're going to make it very difficult for him. I could name you a great church right now that when the pastor we're talking, I said, he's asked me a financial question. I asked him about his budget. He said, "Oh, we don't have a budget. What goes in goes out." A great church now, a great man of God. But guess what? That church doesn't exist today. And the college that was attached to it does not exist today. It's not going to function. You got to frame your doings. You can't have a bucket with holes in it and expect it to survive and keep going. So that's the financial part of me coming out. That's the accounting part coming out. I'm sorry. I fell out of a bed when I was a kid and hit my head and numbers, 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 numbers. But anyway, let me talk to you about debt retirement. Number one, there are three vetoes in ministry decisions I think that will help you if you could adopt this. Number one, faculty. You don't have the faculty, you can't do it. Number two, facilities. If you don't have the facilities, you can't do it. Next, finances. Finances. If you don't have the finances, you can't do it. Now, three vetoes in ministry decisions: faculty, facilities, and finance. Number two, use percentages as a barometer in your financial reports. Use percentages as a barometer in your financial reports. For example, no more than 25% debt. I think that's wise. That's what Brother House taught us. That's what I've found through the years, 52 years. I found it to be true. No more than 15% in utilities. If you're going over 15%, shut some lights off, do some things, change some things, because now you're fixing to get yourself into, you got a bucket with holes in it. All right. So 25% debt, 15% utilities, no more than 45% for administration. Talking about office and everything that goes along with it. I did my budget in series: 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. And then underneath that, we'll go 101, 102, 103. And whatever the 100 series was, I had a percentage that I would put off to the side when I gave financial reports. And so that people could see, okay, a church member who makes $1,000 a week and is limited in his utilities and so on and so forth, can't understand a church that's going to spend $10,000 on utilities in a month. Those figures, it doesn't help, but it's hard to comprehend if you're a layman and don't deal with large numbers. But if you put a percentage out there, hey, you can understand that. So if I said to somebody in counseling about money, don't spend more than 25% of your money on debt, then they see it on the financial report at church. Oh, that makes sense. Pastor's staying within boundaries. 15% utilities. I say, if you're going to figure your family budget, no more 50, shut some lights off, turn some lights off. My wife would say to me, shut those lights off. You think we're a bank? Now, I'm just saying 25% ceiling for debt, 15% ceiling for utilities, 45% ceiling for administration. Now, in a company, if you have a P&L statement, whatever's left over, you put back into the ministry, into the business. Now, in a ministry, the more money you save, the more you can use for missions, run missions, get that out, or add buses. You can put it back into the ministry if you save money. You ought to tighten your belt. Now there's no excuse really. You got these computerized thermostats. You got lights. I remember one night Russell Anderson was preaching for me, and we had the thing set off to go at like 10 o'clock. Oh, God moved in. We had a great meeting. Well, he's sitting there sweating at 10:30 at night, signing Bibles. I'll never forget that. Well, where's the air? I said, we're trying to save money, Dr. Anderson. Man, he didn't want to sweat. He didn't spend that money. But we're talking about debt retirement now. Three vetoes: faculty, facilities, finances. important to really help you to make the right decision. Number two, use percentage as a barometer on your reports. Put the percentage off to the right on your report under the 100 series, 200, however you do it. The percentage of the expense item on the right for the monthly report and annual report, or quarterly and annual. It tells the tale. I said, number one, 3 vetoes in the ministry. Number two, use percentages as a barometer in your financial reports. It helps you, it helps them to understand maybe large numbers now. All of a sudden, you got large numbers, but they can't comprehend. They can't get a feel for it, but they can if you use percentages. Number three, schedule a month for stewardship. We had January, every January, stewardship month. I had Sunday school lessons, time, talent, treasure. I would have a Wednesday night Bible study, and I would have men in the area who were trying to do what we were trying to do and were successful with their finances, have them come in and preach on a Wednesday night. That we didn't do that every year, but we had guest preachers in on Wednesday night. We used to have an August Hour of Power, and we'd have them come in on a Wednesday night and in August get ready for that fall push. But I'm talking about schedule a month for stewardship. I felt January was the best for us. And teach personal, practical Bible study, personal, practical Bible studies on finances on Wednesday night. Help them, teach them, and then have a layman give testimony before each service. I'd have them come up to the pulpit, and they would, how God is blessed, and so on, and they would be living examples of listening to the Bible studies, or listening to the Sunday school lesson, listening to the truths about. I wanted our people to be debt free. If they were debt free, then they could support missions or a building project or buy more buses or whatever it might be. We're talking about debt retirement. Number one, 3 vetoes in ministry decisions. 2, use percentages as a barometer on reports so they can relate to what you're doing. Number 3, schedule a month for stewardship. Ours happened to be January. Number 4, use a computer amortization program to show effects of prepayments on debt. So what I would do is you can get computer programs. If you put $100 and took it off of the principal, how did it affect the interest? How did it affect the length of the debt retirement? You have a 20-year debt retirement. Okay. Well, what would happen if everybody gave $1? That's how we started out, $1. And we started out at $250 a week started coming in. We would, on Friday, take it off, go down to the bank, you open in mortgage, and go down and reduce it off of the principal. And then the interest was applied to the new principal amount, which meant I paid less interest. You follow me? So I get a computer amortization program and different levels. What would $100 a week do to your debt? What would $200 a week or $300, $400? That way you could show your people the next year, we start out $1 per person. Then the next year I'd say, this is how it helped us. So why don't we do more this year, and we can reduce that principal count even more. And it affected the interest rate and the interest that you paid. So number 4, get our amortization program computer and figure out what different amounts of prepayment. Then show the various aspects at this January meeting. Show the various aspects of weekly prepayment. We started with $1 per person. Then we ended up, by the way, at $2,000 a week. Oh my goodness. And the more you reduce that principal, the interest that you're paying was less. But also, if they gave you money, let you borrow money, 8% of the appraisal, then you were able, if you wanted to, go down and borrow money to build a building without having to raise money, because you'd already done it. You raised the money by lowering the principal amount. You've lowered it. So now they say 80% of the appraisal, and we'll loan you that money. Well, guess what I did? I lowered the principal amount so much that I could go back to the bank and say, I want to build a building. And I was able to do it. We're talking about debt retirement now. Number 1, 3 vetoes in ministry decisions, faculty, facilities, and finances. Number 2, use percentages as a barometer in your financial reports. They can relate to that. Then number 3, schedule a month for stewardship. Ours happen to be January. Number 4, use a computer amortization program to show the effects of weekly prepayment on the debt. Number 5, show various aspects of weekly prepayment. We start out $1 ahead. It was $250 a week first year. Then I came back and showed how that really helped us. We reduced the principal amount, which affected the interest that was charged against the new principal amount, and it saved us money in interest and shortened the 20-year to 15-year or whatever. All right. Number 6, LBG we went from $250 a week to $2,000 a week 29 years later. Number 7, I used overhead projector to show the different levels. I wanted to make sure they saw it. So I've used overhead projector and show the amortization and the effects of, if we give more this year, how it will help us to be able. And I also explained to the deacons and the people the 80% of appraisal. And the more we reduce the principal, if we needed to build a building, we could build it by simply going back up to the 80% of the appraisal. Number 8, it will reduce the principal and interest charged by a prepayment. It will reduce the principal and then interest charged on the new principal. It'll shorten the 25-year to 20, 20 to 15. It'll shorten it. And you'll save by not having to pay as much interest on a brand new principal amount. Last point, prepayment went on the principal amount weekly. Every Friday, a check was cut. Now, if you don't have an open-end mortgage, you can't do this. That's why you get a mortgage, make sure it's open-ended. Will allow you to prepay. In some cases, the bank won't do it because they're losing money. But you figure that out before you borrow money. So prepayment went on the principal amount weekly. So we cut the mortgage length, 25 down to 20 or whatever. And then that way, new principal amount. And guess what? The interest is charged against the principal balance. So every Friday, we would reduce the principal balance, and that would affect the interest then being charged against the new balance. I hope this helps you. That retirement is very important, that you become a good steward with God's money. And by doing this, it's going to work in your favor. We had a prepayment board. I honored the people who gave the class of whatever 1 year and then the class of the year. Just use anything and everything you can to promote this, and it will make a difference. All right, Ministry Moments every Friday, 4 o'clock. Don't miss it. That's Eastern Time, 3 o'clock Central Time. And you subscribe, Ministry Moments, YouTube, Bob Gray Sr., and you'll get this every week at your convenience. God bless you. Have a great weekend of soul winning.